Tila has also been busy this morning. We find him now in the Constitutional Court in Braamfontein, and the court has just made a decision on the Stellenbosch University's English language policy. Avue, good morning. Well, you've had the decision, the ruling of the ConCourt regarding the language policy of Stellenbosch University.
Yes, that is the case, Brad. And in fact, the leave to appeal here was granted, allowing them to come directly to the Constitutional Court. But the appeal itself was dismissed. You remember that already a ruling from the High Court was given earlier, where, in fact, Justice Froneman mentioned just a few stipulations from that earlier ruling from the High Court, saying that the High Court found that white Afrikaans and white English Afrikaans students there are beneficiaries of apartheid. In fact, that those language policies would deny black students access to the university. But I just want to quickly touch and base with Danny Rousseau, who is in fact one of the attorneys representing Kgaleka Gansi. Thank you for joining us at ENCA. But you heard the ruling here today. What do you make of it and the way forward?
Well, I think that's the end of the road in terms of the Stellenbosch University, and we preference to revert back to the 2014 policy. As you know, the 2014 policy provided for Afrikaans and English on an equal footing. 2016 policy did away with that diminishing Afrikaans to an extent. Our view is that obviously our argument was that it will also affect, in terms of Section 29, the right to mother tongue education, not only Afrikaans, but for all other indigenous languages. In other words, Stellenbosch, in our view, will probably now become an English university.
Now, but you were specifically advocating for brown Afrikaans, as you would have said it.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that exclude the majority in the country, because it is a minority, Afrikaans in itself?
Well, in fact, Afrikaans is the third biggest language in South Africa. You get isiXhosa, and then you get Zulu, and then you get Afrikaans. So it's not the minority language. We're on, aside from that, 7 other languages. However, being in the Western Cape, Afrikaans is the most spoken language in the Western Cape. Most of that for Afrikaans is being spoken by the brown community. So our argument is a lot of those children come from Afrikaans schools, now they're going to an English university. So it's not only about, but it's important, it's not only about Afrikaans, it's also about the development academically of all other indigenous languages.
But we heard Justice Froneman also mentioning that white speakers and Afrikaans speakers are able to, in fact, speak the English language, especially first-year students.
Yeah. The difficulty with that is, if you think, especially in the platteland, the country regions where most of the high school children comes from, there is a difficulty for them to switch from from Afrikaans to English. It gets better later in their later years, third, fourth, and after graduation, but it's still a difficulty for them. You know, I think, if I recall, and I haven't seen the judgment, as you know, I've just listened to the judgment. I think the argument is, and we agree with the judge there, that it's not that Afrikaans should be done away completely, but in our view, it's now going to be for the we're going to have to look at the implementation, whether Stellenbosch is now actually implementing the policy which they created in 2016, because that's going to be the crux of it.
And then just lastly, do you think South African universities cater for the African languages?
I'm afraid not. I think in KwaZulu-Natal it might be different, but generally a lot needs to be done, and that's why in our view this ruling is quite important. But it's because it's not only about Afrikaans, it's about all languages. And the indigenous languages, the other indigenous languages, in our view, is not being developed properly academically on tertiary level.
Thank you very much. That was Danny Rousseau, an attorney for Kgaleka Gansi. In fact, we just heard here in the highest court in the land that the decision, their appeal from the High Court ruling has been dismissed. And in fact, Stellenbosch University will, in fact, continue with incorporating both English and Afrikaans for undergraduates.
Thank you very much, Avue Mtila. Still ahead.